Today on Built by Josh, we will be working on the classic 72 El Camino. This old girl houses a 5.3 LS, and in this series we will be getting her ready for the road and paint. How to mix your Bondo, how to spread it and how to sand it, and all the materials you'll need are included. Grab your pencil and paper, sit back and let's get to it.
Alright, to get things started, we got a 120 sandpaper here. This is a 3M. Here's the number for that if you want that. We're going to start with this. We're going to get on our block and we're going to get to sanding. Here's an easy way to tear off your paper. Just push that down and it's going to rip right off. Getting your sandpaper on that block is easy as 1, 2, 3. I'll start things off. We're going to hit the fender first and we're going to go for that hood. This fender I've already somewhat done in the past, and it was my fault to leave it like this, so we're going to get all that off so we can fresh start, throw some primer on it, and check it again. So I'm just going to go here with the block, going with the curves. Right now I'm using a flat, but once I get to that curve part of the fender, I'm going to start using the round one, which I'll show you here. Pattern, we're going to want to go in the X pattern with the block. You see I'm just going one direction here, but I am going the other way too. You'll see in other clips, but the X pattern is what you're aiming for. You see I brought out that more round one for that curve there, and it was going along with it. A bit of a bit, so I'm just hammer that down just a bit, then throw some putty over that. Alright, to get onto the hood, we have some guide here. I'm just going with the 120 and that X pattern that I showed you. And we're just going to that guide's removed, and I'll show you here in a second. What's left is what's going to be your low spots. See, we're going in that X pattern there. That's what you're aiming for when you're sanding. And this is the 120 we're using. This is 3M, but you don't have to use that. Use what you feel. Alright, as you see here, we've got that guide down. These little spots here, that's going to be our low spots where we need to put our filler. See, we got them here. That's what's going to be left. If you keep going over and over and you see it's not going away, then you definitely can tell that's your low spot. And if you've done this for quite some time, you can feel with your hand, you know what it feels like, and you know what to look for. These are going to be our low spots, so let's get some putty on those. These are just small dings, so we don't need Bondo, just some light putty. Alright, let's get that glaze now on our surface. If you don't have one of these spreading surfaces, you can use a notebook. I've done that before. Tear the paper right off after you're done, easy cleanup. So we're going to put this down. For the hardener, if it's a real hot day, you want to put a little less. If it's a real not as warm day, you want to put a bit more. Put too much, it's going to dry fast on you. If they put too little on a not as hot day, it's going to take forever to dry, or it won't. Alright, after you get that hardener in, we're just going to mix it with the paint stick. We're going to do somewhat of an S pattern at first to get it all through there. And you just start getting your circles in there, just get it mixed in. You just want to get that mixed in real nice. Then get your spreader, pick it up, and spread it how you need. But yeah, just using a paint stick here. Bug. Alright, from there I take my spreader and I just move it around just to give it that last little mix and gather it all where I need it. And now it's the fun part. Let's get to spreading. Alright, so we don't need a big glob on her. Then we just need something light with this putty. Right there, we're not putting too much pressure, but we're going to get it somewhat flat on there. And go with the curves if you're somewhat on a curve like I am right here. And for a quick cleanup with this, you can use some thinner, just throw it on there and it's going to fall right off if you throw it on right after you finish. Or if you let it dry, this will just break off on the spreader and on your spread tab. That dried a bit too much. Just a rag thinner, and that's a quick cleanup right there. Oh yeah, it's kind of working. Alright, I just want to say, pointing out the glaze I am using, this can adhere to the primer. So we're fine just putting it over the primer. It's going to go to it, no problem. We don't have to go down to metal. So yeah, if you're not wanting to just go down to metal, you have something primed, you can get this, or you can search up any other ones that do that. But yeah, this is what we're going to do, so let's get to it. So same story, you're still going with this X pattern, like this. You're just going to see me doing this mainly because this camera's here. I'm trying to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. But I am definitely going both ways here. Like I said, this primer adheres, this glaze adheres to primer. So this is fine because I know somebody's going to point that out. But this adheres to primer, so we have no worries. So we're going to get this sanded down, and I'll show you what to do from there. See, we're dry. This is going to cut it up nice and quick. And for this sandpaper, we're using an 80 grit. Use what you want, as I said, but this is the 80 grit sandpaper we're using at first. Then once we're about done, we're going with the 120 just to smoothen it. Most of you are used to this, but right now your hand's going to be your best friend right here. You're going to feel it. You'll be able to tell when it's low, when it's high, when it's perfect. Right here we got a rough edge. Let me get you closer. Right here you can see we have a rougher edge. We need to flatten that out. This is still too high, I can feel. You can go like that and feel the lump. But using your hand to find dents and see where you are, it's going to be your best bet. You'll get used to it. It's a little hard at first, but when you do this for a while, you'll learn. So let's keep hitting this. Just smoothing out with that 120 once we're where we need to be. So we got our hood done. That's sanded, dents fixed. Now I'm just checking this. I gotta throw just a smidge of putty there because that was the high spot to hit down. And I think I'm gonna need to put some here. You got that, you got the hood. I'm just finishing up this. This is the Bondo I used. 3M. Now that all the fun sanding part is out of the way, let's hit it with some U-Paul primer. We need a measuring cup, a strainer, a stick for mixing, and of course your paint gun. What we're using is a Leonardo today to prime. This is the setup. Now let's get that paint mix and let me show you how to do that. Paint is a 4 to 1 to 1, and how you measure that, we're going to use this measuring cup, and I'll show you right now. But let's get that paint stirred. If your primer's been sitting for a while, you want to mix it up. If it feels lumpy at the bottom, you're going to mix that up with a paint stick, get it moving. Mine's been, I use it very often, but I'm still going to give it a little mix just to be safe. As you see, I got that 4:1:1 side facing me, and we're going to a 5:5. So we will go to the first 5 with the primer, and if you can see in the next column to the right of it, there's another 5, and we're going with that with the hardener. And for this paint specifically, because this is a thicker paint, I like to go about halfway over where I'm supposed to go, and for me I feel like it just frees it up. It shoots smoother because this is a real thick paint. I've had it clog this gun before, so I just found that works best for me when using this paint. Now it's time to mix it. So for this paint, I make sure to mix it real well. I've done it before where I try to mix it like other paints. I didn't have to mix it that long or too crazy, and it's just clogged up my gun, hasn't shot how I wanted. So I make sure to really mix this paint together before I pour it in the gun and through the strainer. Make sure to mix it well. If you're going to use the same paint as I am, the U-Paul, then you'll have no problems. There's that mix we're going for. Now let's get this in the gun. We're going to go with the strainer first, and we're going to pour through that into the gun. Then we're going to get shooting. I'll show you how to do that. Primer mix and going in the gun. Now let's get to it, but before we can prime, we need to clean our surface. So I'm going with that thinner again, cleaning and wiping everything down just to get anything left over, handprints, grease, anything. I sprayed it off before this to get all that sand dust out of our way, but this is going to get you a nice clean prime. A clean surface is what you want, so I always recommend to do this before you prime. Now let's get to the fun part, the priming part. This is real easy, but it can turn real hard if you don't pay attention. So you can go with the paint in a full line all the way or halfway. I do both. I find it a bit easier to do half on the hoods. I'm still practicing on those, so it's taking me time. But the pattern, you just want to overlay it here and there till you get all the way down. You can go in full strips or half. For the trigger, if you look closely, once I get about halfway where I'm stopping, I'm about flicking the paint gun up and letting off of the paint where it's not spraying, but there's still, that is so it doesn't leave a line, and you get a nicer, cleaner spraying, and it doesn't look like you just got lines everywhere. You can see it here and there. I mess up, I'm not gonna lie to you, but for the most part, that's what I'm doing here. You can see I'm letting off the trigger here and there, which is not pushing the paint out, but it's not leaving that line. It's a pretty hot day out, so I don't really have to worry about runs or anything, but take your time. You don't have to go super fast, but don't leave it in one area for too long so you don't get those runs. You want to go at a okay speed to get that paint on there, but don't be afraid to take your time and take a pause if you need. You see here I'm letting off that air right there so I don't get those lines, but I'm keeping on the trigger always, just not pushing out the paint always. I believe this is the second layer. We don't got to do anything too crazy because we're going to be checking this again. This is just a primer so I can check it. I was trying to cover up my work, So I can go back with the guide and check it one more time before I can see if I like what I see and tell myself that yeah, we're good for paint. This is our result here. We're looking nice. Look at that. Not looking dusty anymore. We're looking like a car now. A clean car that we can guide again and check once more. Unfortunately, I lost a video of me painting the fender, but you know, I'll show you more of that. We're doing more of the hood, more of the roof, and we're checking the whole car one more time before we get it ready for primer. But yeah, you see I missed a few spots here and there. I could have went over one more time, but nothing to worry about. We're guiding this one more time and we're going to hit it again with the primer after that. Good result at the end. Real clean paint, no runs. Now we can check it again and guide it. This is real easy if you're doing this at home. You know, just take your time. And I know some will be like, hey, you got a primer on the wheels, on the tires. Those tires are rotted, so don't even worry about that. You can always cover them up, but this still comes off real easy, so I'm never really worried about that. But that's all for today, so hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one, because we're going to get that LS started. We're going to hit the roof right here, and we're going to do a lot more body work. See, we got a lot of rust on here, so we got a lot of ways to go. And I'm going to show you how to guide and do so much more. So stay tuned and subscribe.